While I understand that people are divided on what to do about President Joe Biden inserting the U.S. into the Russia-Ukraine conflict, I have a question. With everyone debating whether or not the U.S. should both fund the Ukrainians or send troops to help defend their border from the Russians, who's paying attention to or watching our own southern border? Hey everybody, your resident man in black is back for another edition of the best kept secret in the conservative movement, things that need to be said. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis. Really quick, I'd love it if all of you could head on over to Rumble and subscribe to our channel. And no matter where you watch our videos, please share, like, and don't be afraid to leave a comment. I love to read what you guys have to say, and I couldn't do what I do without all of you. Now, on with the show. If we go by what the Beijing-Biden regime's White House Deputy National Security Advisor Jonathan Feiner said,
why should Americans care about what's happening in Ukraine?
Because it goes to a very fundamental principle of all nations, which is that our borders should be inviolate, that our sovereignty should be respected. If the international system is to mean anything, it should mean that no country can change another country's borders or affect another country's government by force.
Look, I get it. The scary Russians are threatening to invade Ukraine over their possible membership into NATO, among other corrupt issues, of which there are many for both countries. I guess my problem with it all is, how can we help others if we can't even, or simply don't want to, if you're looking at it from the perspective of the Beijing-Biden regime, help ourselves? Very early on in his presidency, Beijing-Biden made cackling Kamala his border czar. How many times have you seen her at the actual troubling portions of the border, of which there are many, over the past year? Can't think of one? That's because she hasn't. Never. Not once. I can't believe I'm using the Daily Beast as a source, but just look at the headline and subheading used in an article from last June. Kamala Harris finally visits border 800 miles from where the action is. By the time Harris arrived, there was nary a miner in sight. Political mission accomplished. In fact, despite most of the media touting Harris's recent visits to Central American countries, it's being reported that part of her humanitarian tour includes a stop to attend the quote-unquote incoming socialist Honduran president with anti-Semitic ties. Yeah, I know. Typical. But enough about Kamala. She's about as useful as an American flag is to Antifa and BLM. I'm actually trying to pay attention to our southern border, so let's move on, shall we? I'm not going to take up too much of your time, so let's just look at some headlines and blurbs you might have missed. Keep in mind that these are all from the last month. You know, while the regime has distracted you with the anniversary of the worst event ever to happen in human history, the cold and the flu variant, and the current Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ready? Buckle in. Fox News, January 6th, Arizona border cop says Mexican cartel's war not something easy to win. Quote, during a one-week period late in December, Arizona state troopers seized over 664 pounds of methamphetamine and 37 pounds of fentanyl, according to DPS. The street value of all the drugs was estimated at over $5.1 million, unquote. And remember how the Dems, Libs, lefties, and establishment GOPers were all outraged at the kids in cages and family separations during the Trump presidency? How they were inhumane conditions? Well, at the very least, Trump kept those people indoors, especially during the winter. Not that it's cold at the southern border, but still. Well, Washington Examiner, January 7th, leaked photos reveal Biden's disastrous detention of migrants in Arizona. Look at the pictures the Washington Examiner published. Is this humane? Especially compared to the Trump administration? And why do we have these current conditions? Well, if we go back to the Fox News article from just the day before, here's what the Arizona Department of Public Safety Director Colonel Heston Silbert said about the situation at the border. Quote, Border Patrol is overwhelmed. This is something that's affecting the whole southwest border, but for us in Arizona, it is having a huge impact on Yuma County, an impact to the extent they can't manage it the way they want to, unquote. Let's continue. Breitbart News, January 18th. UN funds migrant wave flooding into the US. Todd Bensman at the Center for Immigration Studies said the following about it, quote, "They're giving money out at way stations up and down the migrant trail. There's a process in Tapachula. You get your Mexican visa papers, then you go to the UN building next door, get an appointment, and they interview you and look at your situation. It's not big money, and not all of them get it, but enough get it to sustain them so they don't have to go home, and so they can go on to the next way station," unquote. Which means the UN is funding the invasion of the US, and don't get it twisted, or let anyone call you a bigot or racist for it. It's an invasion. The UN is just incentivizing people's participation in it. Telemundo, January 22nd, translated from Spanish. The number of migrant children crossing the southern border of the United States alone increases in the beginning of 2022. The New York Post, January 25th, yesterday. Biden sets yet another record at the southern non-border. Judging by the headline, the Post is implying that it's so bad at our southern border that we might as well not even have one. And according to the article, quote, "Last month was the worst December on record. Customs and Border Protection reports 178,840 illegal migrants apprehended, beating the worst previous December by over 100,000. Biden breaks records every month, with apprehensions on track to reach 2 million in his first full year. You can see why they keep coming. The Border Patrol estimates that hundreds of thousands more pass through without interception, while the administration releases most of those it does catch, even quietly resettling migrants all across the country," unquote. And finally, let's get to the people who seem to have taken control of the border, the Mexican cartels. The Mercury News, January 25th, also yesterday. California man, 5 others indicted in scheme to provide Mexican cartel with military-grade weapons. U.S. Attorney Tracy L. Wilkinson said the following concerning the foiled plot, which is part of a much larger problem. Quote, "This case alleges a scheme to provide military-grade firepower to a major drug trafficking organization that commits unspeakable acts of violence in Mexico to further its goal of flooding the United States with dangerous and deadly narcotics," unquote. And that's just what they know. Fast and Furious, anyone? All I wanted to do was compile the information all media outlets aren't broadcasting to you. Sure, they seem to have articles on the topic, as we've seen, but when was the last time in the last few months that the establishment corporate media, or the Biden regime for that matter, spent more than a minute on the topic of our southern border? Before I go, let me give you the answer to that. Newsbusters posted a graphic that displayed the number of seconds, not minutes or hours, but seconds, that the big 3 establishment media outlets spent on the border crisis. NBC spent the most at 260 seconds, which is 4 minutes and 20 seconds. CBS spent 20 seconds on it, and ABC spent a whopping 17 seconds talking about the border. All that time spent was in the entire month of December alone. So, does the media really think the border isn't an important topic? Or are they simply wagging the dog in order to play cover for the Biden regime in yet another one of their massive failures? So, now that you know, what do all of you think out there? I'll leave the verdict up to you. Were these things that needed to be said? Let me know in the comments, where I do read most and reply to some. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on Rumble. If you like this video, don't forget to share, comment, and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so that YouTube might actually let you know when MRC-TV comes out with a new video if they haven't censored it or taken it down yet. Like us on Facebook and check out more of our work at MRCTV.org. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis.